Hi, this is Jim Andrae. I was 23 years old. I was working for a bomb boring machine in West Dallas when I was called up for the draft. So I went in and they put me in 4F because I had a bad heart. So I went back to work and my girlfriend and I decided to get married. So I got married and we were married about 2 months and they decided to check me again to see how my heart was and it was fine. So I was in the Army in 1942. And from Chicago, they took me out to the California desert. I was in the water supply engineers, and we weren't supplying much water because there weren't any other troops out there. But what we did, they expected the Japanese to invade the West Coast, so we were out there marching around with no rifles but broomsticks on our shoulders, guarding the coast. I was out there for a while, and I had a colonel that I knew, and he got me transferred to the Air Force. So I left the company in the desert, and they sent me to California, where I was interviewed, and I had two choices. I could be a tail gunner or go back to college. So my wife said, "You better go back to college." So I went to Oklahoma University, and my wife came down, and she had a good job with Douglas Aircraft, but they only paid 85 cents an hour. So I was in Oklahoma University studying advanced mechanical engineering for about 6 months. We lived in Norman, Oklahoma, until they decided that we were going to invade Europe, and they sent us down to Texas. I was all through the university, and I was back in the infantry, 103rd Infantry Division. We were training, and I was in the Combat Engineers Company C. And from there, from Texas, we took a troop train to New York and a boat to Europe. We landed in Marseille, France in the middle of the night. We had to climb over the side of the boat into ducks, and we had to march 15 miles up to the bivouac area in the rain. And we got there, and it was all mud, and we had to put up our little pup tents and sleep in the mud. And from there on, we traveled up into France, pumping water. That was our problem. We were pumping water for the infantry. And we were staying in some people's homes in France. That was before the Battle of the Bulge. And a Jeep drove up and said, "Jim Andrae, you're a father." My wife just had a baby, and so I was a father. So, but from there on, we went into the Battle of the Bulge. There was five of us, four people and a truck driver, sleeping in a pyramidal tent and pumping water for the infantry and whoever else needed it. There were five of us, and we had a dog named George. And George was a big help because we were sleeping at night, and George would patrol around the tanks to keep the Germans away. And in order to get the water for the infantry, if we pumped water from a river, we'd have to go and take all the dead people and the dead soldiers and the cattle out before we pumped the water. And we'd pump the water into the 2,000-gallon tanks through a filter, and then we'd add chlorine to it. And it was everybody liked our water because it's nice and clean. And the doughboys would come up and fill up their canteens and go up into battle, and very happy to get the water. Is that long enough?